Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of Dubbo Regional Council for May. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archives of your recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. First up, we have prayer and acknowledgement of country. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good. We pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people, who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay my respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Wiradjuri nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal peoples from other nations who are present.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, first up we have public forum. First is we have Ms Tina Reynolds, who wishes to speak on item CCL 21/95 regarding the independent investigator.
Mayor, councillors and staff at Dubbo Regional Council, I would like to take this opportunity tonight to support two motions that will go before council. The first motion is CCL 21/95 to appoint an independent investigator, and CCL 21/96 temporary policy pending code of conduct processes upon the mayor returning to official duties. What we're seeing played out across Australia and international media is not what the ratepayers expect from Dubbo Regional Council councillors. 6 councillors did try to avoid such drama way back in March by asking the mayor to resign. Since March, there has been a series of complaints and allegations from previous code of conduct not going through the correct process, ongoing allegations of misconduct, and more serious allegations which involved ex-staff and the mayor. The allegation claims are impossible to ignore and must be addressed immediately. I believe there is no other option but to engage an independent investigator. Constituents of this city have lost faith in Dubbo Regional Council's processes. The independent investigator must also be made available to listen to the community members that have no faith in the current system or have been bullied and intimidated to not lodge any complaints. I truly believe that this is only the start. Many community members have contacted myself as an ex-councillor wanting to submit complaints but were frightened due to retaliation. They need to have this opportunity to now speak out. The nature of the allegations have been reported in the media are serious. I personally believe that the Deputy Mayor, Stephen Lawrence, should not have to go through the lengths of putting a temporary policy together just to address the return of the mayor. But again, he's had no option, as the mayor has refused to stand aside, and there must be steps put in place to protect the staff and the public. Dubbo has been under the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. All of this could have been avoided if only the mayor had resigned. The mayor is elected as a councillor to represent the constituents of this city. It is time for the mayor to listen to the public and do what is right for the great regional city and step aside or resign so due process can be followed. Councillors, thank you for taking the necessary steps that you have taken. There is a lot of people out in this community that are quiet, not boisterous, but you have their support, so thank you.
90% of Dubbo are on Ben's side.
Yep.
Mr Shields, please.
Come on, Ben.
Okay, I'll call the gallery to order. Next, I'll call on Mr Anthony Graham regarding our community grants process.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I thank the Council for this opportunity to make a statement. I urge Council, as a matter of policy, to publish and make available to the public the results of awardees in merit order as decided by all Community Grant Fund committees and with notations of any subsequent changes and their reasons by another council committee to occur at the same time as the Dubbo Regional Council public announcement of the final awardees. I request publication of results by all Community Grant Fund committees over the past 20 months be also published and made available to the public as soon as possible. I request Council consider a motion to observe 1 minute silence to recognise the repudiation of nepotism, cronyism and mismanagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Graham. I now call on Mr Ron Batten regarding the River Street Bridge.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, council staff and the public. Just a brief prelude in regards to the address that I would like to make tonight. This is directed at all councillors and to all the members of the public, and particularly those who intend nominating for a council election in September. I don't know if this is too late, but here goes. It is totally unbelievable how this council has neglected the opportunity to advocate the best interest for Dubbo in regards to a high-level bridge that is planned for Dubbo. All the evidence for the correct location can be found in 4 publications, which can be all found online. Dubbo City Stapleton Report of 2009, Dubbo Road Transportation Strategy of 2045, Preferred Option Report, New Dubbo Bridge, May 2017, the RMS Dubbo Bridge Option Report of May 2016. These reports have been compiled and written by very experienced professionals in their field, not some self-acclaimed experts. The original plan, as stated by the state government, was for a flood-free river crossing, not a bypass, as advocated by a number of our present councillors. A bypass that they have no data, information or expert evidence to prove that the bypass that they propose based on Troy Bridge is a better choice than any of the other options put forward. I believe that there is a much better option based on Purvis Lane. In just one sentence from the May 2016 option report, see page 11, states that a bridge based on Purvis Lane could be used as the initial stage for a bypass. This corridor option would potentially connect well with the Canambia, the council's proposed freight proposal. The Stapleton Report and the Dubbo Road Transportation Strategy to 2045 also supports the Purvis Lane. Is it too late for the council to get fair income and prepare a detailed report to the state government to highlight the problems of the River Street Bridge would create for the future planning for Dubbo, as stated in the Dubbo Road Transportation Strategy to 2045? Is this council prepared to have a real attempt to save Dubbo from this inept government? Has the River Street Bridge been designed by the same engineers that designed the so-called flood-proof Windsor Bridge? Failures that can be attributed to this present state government. Flood-proof Windsor Bridge, 2 metres of water over the bridge for 4 days in March 2021. It was only opened in May 2020. Trains that are too wide to operate on some lines, ferries that are too high for some bridges on Parramatta River, unable to reverse in some conditions, incorrect glazing and tinting on window, making these ferries inoperable at night due to light reflection. A light rail that is running at less than 30% expected patronage, price blowout 1.6 billion to 3.1 billion. State government bought land for 3 times its value for the light rail project. Wallandra Street, Victoria Street traffic lights, price blowout 20 million to 40 million. Are we, the residents of the Dubbo Regional Council, going to allow this bridge to be constructed on River Street to be added to this growing list? I'm calling on this present council to call on public meeting to show this inept government that they do not have the majority support from residents of Dubbo and surrounding towns for a new high-level bridge on River Street. Thank you. In closing, the Gilgandra Shire recently received $32 million for improvements to an existing bypass that has been in operation for many years.
Thank you, Mr.
Maybe this
Batten.
Dubbo Regional Council could talk with the Gilgandra
Batten,
Shire
your time is
Council
now up.
and see how they achieved this funding.
Thank you, Mr. Batten. Up next, we have Ms. Karina McLaughlin regarding CCL 21/95 Independent Investigator and the CEO recruitment.
Thank you, Mayor, Councillors, Acting CEO, staff and members of the public. I'm not here to speak about the River Street Bridge tonight. Questions were recently directed to the current Acting CEO from a media representative that could not be answered at the current time. These included questions about allegations made against Maria Cressanti, who was the Executive Manager of People,
Ms.
Culture...
McLaughlin, I need to pull you up on that. We can't go into staff matters regarding those sort of things.
Well, this is what's on the agenda and I don't think that I should be censored. I've had this checked for defamatory comments and I'd like to go ahead and...
Yeah, Ms. McLaughlin, I get you to play the ball and not actually the man on this one. We're here to talk about policy when it comes to the staff. Quite happy for spears to be thrown at
I do have
councillors,
points to
but
make
not
about
staff.
policy.
That's fine, but if you can stick to the to policy and not individual staff members, thank you.
Okay, well, I need to give this information in order to explain my point of view. She was the Executive Manager of People, Culture and Safety, i.e. the DRC's terminology for its Manager of Human Resources. It was alleged that Ms.
Yeah, I agree. I make a ruling. Ms. McLaughlin, can you please take your seat? Ms. McLaughlin, can you please take your seat?
Okay.
Okay, now we move on to Mr. Richard Mutton regarding the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, good evening, and members of the public. I'm here on a fairly mundane topic, but it's a topic that is very close to my heart, and it is a topic to do with the library, and I've again looked at the budget as far as the library is concerned, and again I find that the budget is not keeping up with the library and what the regional library should be doing. We've got a very good system, a very good regional library. We have about 56% of ratepayers using the library, but we are not seeing, in budget terms, in reality, 56% of money being spent on that budget. It's the same amount with a 2.5% increase each year. The library deserves more. The ratepayers deserve more. I, as a ratepayer and a user of the library, deserve more. And I'm hoping that all councillors will look at that tonight, review the system regarding the library, look at the budget again, and adequately supply enough money for the library. And in closing, I would like to support everything, and I mean everything, that former councillor Tina Reynolds has said this evening.
Thank you, Mr Mutton. I'll just point out that the budget isn't actually on the agenda tonight. It's next council meeting. Next on, we will move to CCL 21/94, report of the Dubbo Regional Council Solar and Wind Farm Consultative Committee meeting of the 4th of May. Can I have a mover of that one, please? Move Councillor Parker. A seconder? Councillor Jones? Sorry, yep. I'll grab the seconder first. Councillor Grant, now Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I wish to declare an interest. It's a non-pecuniary, less than significant interest in the Golden Hall Trust application before Council. The reason for such interest is that I perform audits for the Golden Hall Trust on a voluntary basis. I also wish to declare a non-pecuniary but significant interest in the Golden Hall Trust application before Council. The reason for such is that my husband, Peter Perry, is one of the trustees of the Trust. I will therefore leave the room and not participate in any discussion or vote in this matter before Council.
Okay, councillors. We have a motion before us. Any discussion or debate on this one? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? I know, carry. Someone can invite Councillor Jones back into the room. And also my apologies, councillors, I forgot to do the minutes of the previous meeting, so I'll get a mover of that one first. Okay, Councillor Gumley, seconded by Councillor Lawrence. Any discussion or debate on that one? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried. Now we go to clause SW 21/3, acknowledgement and review of the Community Consultative Committee recommendations for grant funding, Badengra Wind Farm Community Benefit Fund, Round 6, 2020-2021. Can I have someone move the item of the Dubbo Regional Council Solar and Wind Farm Consultative Committee meeting of the 4th of May 2021?
We've just done that.
Yeah, that's the one we just did. So we now.
It's the same one. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so we now move on to notices and motions.
Okay. Sorry, my apologies again then.
Don't think so. I think we've done it. Yeah.
Okay, we do move on now to CCL 21/95, Independent Investigator. Can I please have someone move the report of the notice of motion? Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. A seconder, please. Councillor Gumley. Can I any discussion or debate on this matter?
Mr Mayor, I have an amendment to the motion, and I'd just like to highlight that the amendment is point 6, so points 1 to 5 remain the same, and that point 6 is the amended part of the motion, that the Chief Executive Officer be requested to liaise with Local Government New South Wales and provide a report regarding financial implications relating to the appointment of an independent investigator for the consideration of Council at an extraordinary meeting to be held not before 14 days from the date of this resolution.
Okay, can I have a second of that? Thank you, Councillor Gumley again. Any discussion on the amendment now? No discussion on the amendment? Okay, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Carried. Now I'll move to that becomes the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Thank you, Councillor Lawrence.
The issue of the independent investigator coming into Dubbo Regional Council has been with us, I think, since the week of the 31st of March of this year. And I want to thank those who spoke tonight in the public gallery, in public forum on it. It's certainly been a proposal that has captured the public imagination, if I can put it that way, and aroused controversy. And there was a bit of booing, I think, at the end of Ms Reynolds speaking on it. Emotions are certainly high in the community on these matters. The good thing about independent processes, and we see this in courts, for example, is they tend to calm emotions and so forth when people know that they're getting a fair shot. And emotions certainly are running high, and this motion in some ways is the culmination of a bit of a process that has been going on for 6 weeks that has been very difficult for a lot of people, and it's been difficult for our staff. It's been difficult for me in some ways, and I've been the recipient of a number of threats in recent days. It was said yesterday, or on Saturday in fact, that people are very angry and that if certain things happen I might get bashed, and people have said things on Facebook about how people should come around to my house and bash me and then get bail and come back and bash me again. So it's appropriate to acknowledge that emotions are heightened. I should say I'm not concerned by those threats, so people out there watching this or in the room who might be concerned that I'm somehow affected by that in the course of action that we have resolved should certainly understand that I'm not. I'm fortunate in some ways that it's an integral part of my profession to stand up to bullies, and I find that I've become used to doing it and quite accustomed to doing it, and completely firm in my resolve to take forward these matters that relate to this issue of the independent investigator. The process that has led to the putting of this motion has been quite a complex one, and one of the reasons that it's been complex is that we have a code of conduct that governs our conduct as councillors, and it's a council policy that has been passed by council, but it's also a creature of state law in the sense that there's a model code that is enacted under a particular provision of the Local Government Act, and we're not free to depart from that. And that's quite strict in its rules and so forth as to conduct, but there's also a procedural code in relation to how complaints are handled that is also very strict. And one of the features of that, for example, is that if a complaint is made by somebody of a councillor, a mayor or a staff member even, that is not expressed to be a code of conduct complaint, because lots of people are not aware that there even is a code of conduct or that it's a creature of state law. But if a complaint is made that is in truth a complaint of a breach of the code of conduct, then it's necessary under the code of conduct provisions that it be treated as a code of conduct complaint. So the upshot of all of that is it's not open to us as a council to, for example, receive allegations of misconduct, even if they're extremely serious, and then resolve to have a different process to the process that is set out in the code of conduct. It's just not open to us. So we can't, for example, identify a particular problem that we think might be there and then hire someone to come in and investigate that, because there's quite a strict process that is set down under the code for that. So we need to be mindful of that, and that's why people who've looked at the motion will see that I've split it into two parts. The first part is to look at how prior code of conduct matters in the term of council have been dealt with. And we sought very specific advice on this, and the advice that came back was basically to the effect that it is open to council to seek to examine those processes. And for example, it's open to us to appoint an independent investigator to see whether decisions have been made under that code of conduct that were so unreasonable that no reasonable decision maker could have made them. And that is a concept that is known to the law, certainly, and basically is about unreasonable decision making. So it's open to us further in respect of this idea of examining process to have an independent investigator look at all the decisions that occur when a complaint, whether it's expressed as a code of conduct complaint or not, is filed, and to see whether those processes have been followed. It's not open to us, however, to appoint an independent investigator to simply try to rehash all those things. So the independent investigator, for example, can't come in and say, well, I've looked at this code of conduct that came in, I think it was probably wrongly decided, so therefore I'm going to recommend that some sort of finding be made that the wrong thing has occurred. that simply can't occur. But for example, if something has happened like a complaint came in, for example, that went to the integrity of the Code of Conduct process, and therefore under the Code of Conduct provisions ought to have been automatically referred to the Office of Local Government, and it wasn't, then that would be an example of a mishandling of process, such that an independent investigator could look at that and then come back to us and tell us that our processes have failed. Our processes in respect of the administration of the code have failed. And look, in my view, that's a crucially important thing for us to know. And look, our local MP has certainly been out there speaking about this and suggesting that there might have been failures and that there's not confidence in the community, in his view. So it's important for us to look into these matters and to seek to understand whether our processes are in effect have miscarried. So that's the first part. Now, the second part is probably a more complex process, probably a longer process, and that's a process of seeing whether this council, in the term of council, has been compliant with our legal and regulatory obligations. And as councillors who in effect play the role of a member of a board of directors, it's very important for us to be keenly concerned about that question of compliance. Obviously, our staff are out there working hard to make sure that we do comply, and they do the legwork, so to speak, that makes us compliant, one would hope, with regulatory obligations. But it's important for us, and we do this when we read business papers and we make assessments of things, to cast our mind to that question of compliance with regulatory obligations. Now, there's a range of those out there, and I certainly don't profess to have a full knowledge of all of them, but some key ones would include obligations under state law in relation to the ethical and efficient use of resources. That's a very important legal obligation on council. It's important for us to have confidence and the community have confidence that their resources, the community's resources, have been expended not for personal purposes, but for the ethical, efficient and proper purposes of the community, as that is directed and embodied in the policies of this council. Another one relates to things such as workplace health and safety, which would include such things as workplaces not being unsafe, people not being subjected to cultures in workplaces that are not safe, people not being subjected to sexual harassment. That's another very important legal obligation on councils. So that's the second part of the motion, councillors and members of the public, to have an independent investigator come in to interview all councillors, and we are, as community representatives, often the repository, the receipt of complaints, so we have a pretty good idea, I think, of concerns in the community, to interview all directors and other staff members as necessary. And those two things might interplay. Councillors might have suggestions about staff members to interview. The interviewing of directors might lead to suggestions about other staff members. And also to interview members of the community as the independent investigator sees fit. I think if an independent investigator does those things, interviews councillors, interviews directors, interviews other staff members, they will be able, in my view, pretty quickly, and hopefully this can be a fairly quick process, to get a good handle on whether in any important respects we have failed as a council to meet our legal and regulatory obligations. And if you listen to informed commentary, such as comes from our state MP, such as comes from John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier, such as comes from Shelley Hancock, the Local Government Minister, such as comes from a range of other public figures who have vigorously supported this idea of the independent investigator, there might be problems there. And there's always an organisational tendency, perhaps especially in big organisations, for defensiveness to take over in the way that bureaucracy works, and for people maybe looking at it in a more beneficial way to sometimes assume the best or hope for the best. But we need to move past those sort of approaches. we need to be proactive, and in my view, we need to hire a very well qualified person, and I'm sure Scott Phillips, the CEO of LG New South Wales, would only recommend such a person. Very well qualified person, perhaps with a background in policing or investigations or something of that nature. A person that is well regarded in this field of investigations, to come in and to conduct those interview processes and to put a spotlight through the organisation in respect of those key questions of handling of code of conduct processes. Have unreasonable decisions been made, decisions perhaps to summarily dismiss complaints that might be considered so unreasonable that no reasonable person could have made them, and those other aspects of the process issues, and also look at that second, perhaps more complex question of has this council complied with our legal and regulatory obligations in respect of our organisational functions, our staff, and just as importantly, the community of the Dubbo region.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Any further comment? Councillor Gumley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to say how appalling it is hearing about the conduct apparently directed towards Councillor Lawrence so far as his personal safety is concerned. Those people who might get caught up in the emotion of all of this ought to know that that sort of behaviour is not helpful in the least. Moving on to the call for an independent investigation. You know, much has been made of this council and the goings-on over the last couple of months, and you know, the community and the media really have placed councillors into one of two camps, as it were. When it comes to this issue, however, the community ought to know, and in particular the people that direct their vile at other councillors ought to know that in actual fact, when it comes to the calls for an independent investigation, this council is as one on that issue so far as I have heard. And I'd be surprised if any councillor in the chamber tonight voted against the calls for an independent investigator. I think that's important given the environment that has been created in the media for the community to be well aware of the support for an independent investigation as outlined by Councillor Lawrence tonight. Await the appointment of the investigator, await the investigation, await the findings of the investigation, and then I would encourage the community to come to a position that's reasonable, informed and civilised, as it were. This council will do the work that needs to be done to ensure that the community can have confidence in the elected members and the staff that make it up. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gumley. Any further comment or speakers on this matter? No further speakers? Okay, I'll certainly have a say on this too. Look, I certainly agree with what Councillor Gumley has said, and I also agree with what Councillor Lawrence has said too on this matter. Councillors, reality is we are a public organisation that needs to be truly accountable and truly able for people, for the public, the wider community to come in and have a good look at what is actually going on with their rate and tax money in this organisation. That is only fair. Councillors, but I personally think this should go further. The reality is, and members of the public will even see later on by the end of this meeting, that the divisions within this council are becoming unworkable, ridiculously unworkable. So my view is I believe that we should have a full investigation, but I also believe that having the current council in place is not going to be the right influence that will be put on directors and also the independent investigator going forward. I therefore call on the state government to sack Dubbo Regional Council. It is the only way we can move forward. It is the only way we can move forward and have...
It's been repeated, shouting and clapping and so forth. I would request that you consider as chair to issue a meaningful direction in relation to the question
I
of order.
I will call the gallery to order. But again, I will repeat myself, the best way we can do this is for all of us to lay down our swords and allow a genuinely independent administrator to take over Dubbo Regional Council. That is the fair thing to do. Now, members of the public, later on tonight, at the end of this meeting, you will be shocked of what is actually going to transpire. Absolutely shocked. This council is falling apart. There are two clear factions. There are people who are very, very angry and upset on both sides. We have become dysfunctional. We need to admit that within ourselves. Now, we do know that this is mainly about an election coming up in September. Let us...
It's not appropriate, Mr Mayor, under the Code of Meeting Practice, for you to impute improper motives to councillors, and that is what you are doing.
Right.
And so I would ask that you cease and that you make an apology.
Okay, very sorry for that. Now, we do know what the reasons are, I will put it that way. But that being, look, we know deep down inside that this council has become dysfunctional.
Excuse me, point of order, Mr Mayor. You are continuing to repeat these same insinuations, which are simply not true. I don't think any one of the whistleblower councillors here...
No point of order, Councillor Ryan. Take your seat.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
So I'll leave it at that. State government, I ask you to do your job, and I understand that there's other political forces at play here, but please do your job and help the community of Dubbo. Every councillor needs to lay down their sword, and we need a serious investigation into Dubbo Regional Council. Not an investigation it's been appointed by the CEO of Local Government New South Wales, but a serious investigation, and that can only take place when councillors are all out of office. That needs to take place sooner rather than later. Thank you. I now put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Call it carried. I now move to item CCL 21/96, temporary policy pending the Code of Conduct processes upon the Mayor's return to official duties. I will have a mover of that, and I will second it from the Chair. Thank you. Anyone wish to speak to this motion?
I'll speak to that, Mr Mayor. This is a motion to ask councillors to endorse a policy that I created under the emergency provisions of the Local Government Act just prior to you, Mr Mayor, returning to official duties. I created the policy, as I've made clear in the media when I was the acting mayor, but also after that, because I felt it was necessary in light of events that I won't repeat now, but in light of a range of events and allegations that led me to the conclusion that we couldn't take a business as usual approach, that we needed to put in place measures that met our duty of care responsibilities to our staff, to the community, and to you yourself, Mr Mayor. So I ask councillors to note and endorse the passing of that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Any further discussion or debate on this matter? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? I know carried. Thank you. Councillor Moore, your vote is recorded. I now move to item CCL 21/97. Very, very interesting one. Can I have a mover of a motion on that one, please? Councillor Parker. Microphone on, Councillor Parker. It's very, very important that this one be recorded.
Thank you for your reminder. Thank you again once for that. The position of CEO is in a very important position.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. We haven't got a seconder for the motion yet.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Councillor Lawrence.
And I think there's an amendment.
I'll hear Councillor Parker.
Okay, we'll start again. I view the position of CEO as a very important position. It's the glue that holds everything together between staff, councillors and the community. The important thing is that we are moving forward with the recruitment process, thus ensuring the continuity of council's day-to-day operations, and that's the reason for this particular motion. I would just like to add, though, that despite perception of loss of faith, emotion that's been referred to tonight, for example, that council staff are working hard, and for example, the success of yesterday's NRL match is evidence of that, and it is work as usual insofar as council is concerned. So that's where I will leave my motion at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. We have a mover and a seconder. Any discussion or debate?
I'd like to move an amendment, but that amendment will have to mean that the council goes into the committee of the whole.
Okay, can I have a mover of that? Will be at the end of the night, I'd imagine. Councillor Ryan, at committee of the whole, or you wish to exclude?
So you wish to move? You wish to go through the other items and then do this at the end of the...
That's right. Because
could I get some advice from the CEO on that, please?
That's the usual way that we do it, and would save the gallery sort of trumping in and then coming back in to hear the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you. So is the amendment, Councillor Ryan, to defer this motion to the committee of the whole?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can I have a seconder of that, please? Councillor Jones. Any discussion or debate about keeping this totally confidential? No? Okay, I'll move that. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Now we move over to item CCL 21/98, the Aboriginal Electoral Engagement Strategy. Can I have a mover of that one, Councillor Lawrence, and a seconder, Councillor Etheridge? Any discussion or debate?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
This is a staff report that comes up after a notice of motion that I moved, and I was just trying to think exactly when that was. It was quite some time ago now. I think COVID and different things might have got in the way, but it's excellent work. I'd like to thank the staff for that. It's quite unusual work in the sense of Dubbo Regional Council concerning itself with the question of the enrolment of Aboriginal people on the electoral roll. And when I moved the motion, I remember trying to find the exact statistics on the gap in enrolment, and I couldn't find them, so I commend the staff for their diligence in finding it. But it basically shows that there's an 11% gap in New South Wales between the enrolment of Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people. We've got a 15% Aboriginal community here of the broader population, and therefore it's an important issue here. And the report identifies that if you crunch those numbers, it basically represents 1,000 Aboriginal people in our region who are not on the electoral roll. This flows through, of course, and the policy does too, to the question of representation. And we don't have Aboriginal people on Dubbo Regional Council. We certainly have in the past, but we don't now. And that obviously is a commendable thing to aim towards. And this motion, or the motion, has led to a policy which will seek to engage the community and to educate the community, firstly on that question of enrolment, and then on that question of engagement in the sense of potentially people standing for council. And that's something that we can certainly play a neutral but a proactive role in. And the contents of the policy certainly meet all the hopes and aims that I have when I put forward the notice of motion. So again, I commend the staff for that, and I commend it to councillors, and certainly hope that it attracts the support of everybody.
Any further comment or statement on that one, or debate? No, I put that. All those in favour? Opposed? I declare it. Is that opposed, Councillor Parker? Or, sorry, Councillor Parker, this question, is that for or against? For, okay. I declare the motion carried. We now move to CCL 21/99, March 2021 Quarterly Budget Review Statements. Can I have a mover of that one? Move Councillor Jones, seconded Councillor Gumley. Any discussion or debate on that one? No, I put that. All those in favour? Right, no, carried. Now we move to item CCL 21/100, attendance at the 2021 New South Wales Local Roads Congress. Can I have a mover of that? Councillor Grant. A seconder, please. Councillor Gumley. Any discussion or debate on that one?
Yeah, just briefly, Mr Mayor. I note in the update figures in relation to the budget that we're spending a lot of money on code of conduct processes. I think we've got a $70,000 bill so far. I won't be interrupted, Mr Mayor, unless you've got some sort of point of order. Yes, thank you. It's important, I think, that we start a process of looking to make that amount up, and that's certainly something that I've started to turn my mind towards. And look, in the current climate, with all of that expenditure going on and there not necessarily being a place in the budget for it yet, I don't think people going off to conferences is appropriate. The other issue is that we're very close to an election, and staff, in my view, being the people that are here after elections, come what may, the more appropriate people to send to conferences rather than councillors who may or may not be present in council after the election in September. So on that basis, I'll certainly be opposing the report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Any further discussion or debate on the matter? Councillor Diffie.
Through you, Mr Mayor, is it appropriate to send staff, and have we sent staff to these conferences before, in particular this one?
We usually send both, Councillor Diffie. As someone who's been to quite a number of them, who won't be going to this one, we usually send both. The idea is usually for someone who's our traffic committee guy to go along to these with our staff. And the idea of these roads conferences is you get to talk to ministers directly and people who make decisions on the ground. It's actually very important, I believe, because that's where you can see the little pots of money around for different projects. So if this council wants to keep its record amount of funding coming in from state and even federal governments, I suggest we do support the National Roads Conference, because that is where the pots of money are, which we can put into our own local infrastructure. Diffie, any further comment or discussion? Councillor Gumley.
Through you, Mr Mayor, perhaps to the CEO, should the recommendation be defeated, as is the wish of Councillor Lawrence, how much money is Council likely to save by not sending Councillor Moore?
I think the report says $700. Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head.
$700 is a lot. It is really not quite $70,000, though, is it? All right. Yeah, I would have to personally support the actual motion. In speaking to it, councillors, I think it is very important that we go ahead with this. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Without wanting to make too light of this matter, I don't think a roads minister at a conference in Sydney, if they're talking to a Dubbo councillor, is going to have their mind engaged about roads just at the minute.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ryan. Any further comment or discussion on this one? I put that. All those in favour? Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I declare the motion lost. And the alternate motion, councillors. May I have an alternate motion? Excuse me, councillors. I need an alternate motion when a motion is defeated.
I move the motion. No council representative attend the conference.
Okay, a seconder for that. Councillor Jones. Any discussion or debate?
Point of order, that's a direct negative.
It's no point of order, Councillor Moore, because the motion has been defeated. It's a motion, not an amendment. So, well, I'll put that. All those in favour? No, carried. Declare it carried. We now move to item CCL 21/101, investments under section 625 of the Local Government Act. Can I have a mover of that one, please? Councillor Gumley, seconded Councillor Jones. Any discussion or debate on that one? Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to declare a significant pecuniary interest in the matter before Council, and will leave the room and be out of sight during discussion of the matter. The reason for that is that I'm an employee of the Bank of Queensland Dubbo, and Council has funds invested with BOQ. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, we have a motion before us. Any discussion or debate? No. I put that. All those in favour? No. I declare it carried. If we can invite Councillor Parker back into the room, please. Okay, councillors, we now go to CCL 21/102, Rates Harmonisation Community Reference Group Report. Can I have someone move that, please? Move Councillor Parker, seconded Councillor Gumley. Any discussion or debate on that one? Councillor Parker.
Yeah, look, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a quick bit of a review on what actually happened. I was Council's representative for this particular debate. Look, there was good representation from both Wellington and Dubbo councils. I think more concern from Wellington rather than Dubbo in terms of what they might expect in terms of rate increases, but by nature of the exercise and probably the impact of revised valuations, there will be an increase and some decreases in general rates across the local government area, but certainly the committee tried to minimise the impact of this wherever possible. It's important to understand that this process, though, and hope the public does as well, that this the process does not increase council's income from rates, but just redistributes that income across our rating categories. If we look backwards on it, I think the only error that we may have made was sending out the letter of the 31st of March, which created a little bit of confusion. But I think what's been sent out since then has probably clarified a lot of those issues, and I think, as we all know, this is something that had to happen under the Act, beginning by 1st of July, and I'm pleased that it's going that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers on this? Councillor Lawrence.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I just want to thank all the members of the community that took part in the process between the 5th and the 20th of April. Their hard work, commitment and diligence is certainly acknowledged and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Any further comment or discussion? No, I put that. All those in favour? Carried. Declare it carried. We now go on to item CCL 21/103, Building Summary. Can I please have a mover of that, please? We have Councillor Diffie and Councillor Grant. Any discussion or debate? No, I put that. All those in favour? Declare it carried. We now go to CCL 21/104, Consolidated Dubbo Regional Council, Local Environmental Plan. Can I have a mover of that one, please? Yeah. We move Councillor Diffie, seconded Councillor Ryan. Any discussion or debate? No, I put that. All those in favour? No, carried. Item CCL 21/105, Post-Exhibition Nanama Village Sewage Treatment Plant Planning Proposal. Can I have a mover of that one? Move Councillor Gumley, seconded Councillor Grant. Any discussion or debate on this one? No, I put that. All those in favour? No, carried. Item CCL 21/106, DRTCC, Photography Policy Review. Can I have a mover of that one, please? Move Councillor Jones, seconded Councillor Parker. Any discussion or debate? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? No, carried. CCL 21/107, Lifting of Water Restrictions. Can I have someone move that one, please? Move Councillor Diffie, second Councillor Gumley. Any discussion or debate on that one? No, I put that all as in favour.
I was going to speak to it.
Oh, okay. Councillor Lawrence and Councillor Ryan. Oh, Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to the Director, could I just have the Director explain why, if we stayed on level 1, it could give the community a sense of complacency? And it's a little bit counterintuitive, but it certainly convinced me in the briefing.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. The intent of water restrictions generally is to prepare the community for worsening situations in terms of water supply. So you might recall back when we had the drought, we reviewed our drought contingency and water emergency response plan, and that provided us with a decision-making framework that gave us the ability to not only implement water restrictions but also to go off water restrictions as situations improve. So as we all know, Burrendong Dam is at 50% now, and there's no technical reason that would require us to be on water restrictions. Under the Local Government Act, in fact, it states that we should only be on water restrictions when there's restricted supply. So the message that we want to send to the community is when we are on water restrictions, that we want those restrictions to be taken quite seriously and to prepare themselves for either worsening conditions as we work through restrictions or improving conditions as we work out from them. So to have water restrictions in place when there may well not be a restriction may not send the correct message to the community because they should be also enforceable conditions. So, fundamentally, the report recommends that we go off water restrictions because there is no restriction of supply. The Macquarie Valley is no longer drought declared, and we have full allocation for our water restrictions for the next 12 months. Does that answer your question, Councillor? Thank you.
Further comment?
Yeah,
Councillor
thanks,
Lawrence.
Mr Mayor. I was very glad to see point 3 in there, which of course says that continued education and communication initiatives be implemented with regard to water conservation throughout the LGA, because I can certainly understand why Councillor Ryan asked for that explanation, because there certainly would be people out there who would be concerned that the eye will be taken off the ball, the community will totally forget about this issue that comes up, unfortunately, on a regular basis. But the advice that's been given makes sense, that in fact to have this regulatory impost when there's no need for it actually sends the wrong message and would achieve the exact opposite. So on the basis that part 3 is in there, I certainly support this. It is appropriate to completely lift restrictions in circumstances where there is so much water in the dam and where the percentage that comes out of the dam that goes to town water is but a fraction, indeed a very, very small percentage of the water that is used in total for all the different industrial and agriculture and business purposes. In all those circumstances, very appropriate, but also appropriate to acknowledge the hard work that the community did from the time that restrictions came in until they now have concluded. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Further comment or debate? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? Declare it carried. Councillors, we now move on to CCL 21/108, Wellington Pedestrian Footbridge, funding and design, something that Councillor Grant and I have personally been very, very enthusiastic about. So I'll take that as a mover from Councillor Grant, a seconded Councillor Jones. Discussion or debate on this? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and from my perspective, one of the most important items on tonight's meeting. As a councillor and ever since I've been on this council, it's been something that I've been very passionate about, as you've just alluded to, and yourself, Mr Mayor, when we had some early discussions about this. And I really appreciate when you first moved that mayoral minutes, and also our Director of Livability, Sky Price, who put it as one of her top priorities, I believe, to get through and get this project up and running. And I know it's been a long time coming, and I'm just very excited to see that it's just about there, and I look forward to actually seeing the construction and the finished product. Thank you. Oh, and actually, sorry, Mr Mayor, I would like to actually congratulate the community groups behind the push for this bridge as well. There was a number of community groups pushing behind the scenes, so thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Not so much recently, but when our boys were little, we often took them down to soccer carnivals on the Riverbank Ovals at Wellington. They're an absolute credit to the town. When people are down there, they're happy. People from all over the Central West talk about how beautiful the setting is. And without the footbridge, it just really loses connectivity to the town. If you had an hour or two between games, people from as far afield as Canowindra or Orange or Bathurst or Nyngan could potentially walk across to the businesses. They didn't seem to do that when they had to walk over the bridge, and I think this is going to be a great thing economically for Wellington as well as socially, and well done to everyone concerned, from the community groups through to the director and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any further discussion on this item? No, I put that. All those in favour? I declare it carried. Item CCL 21/109, request for waiving of sporting organisation fees and charges. Can I have a mover of that one, please? Move Councillor Jones, a seconder. Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate on this one? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On this item, I need to declare a non-pecuniary but significant interest. I'm currently the treasurer of Wellington Senior Soccer, who obviously is in competition with the Cowboys Rugby League in the sense of another sport in the town, so I could be seen as having bias towards one and not the other, so I will leave the room in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Have any discussion on this matter? Councillor Jones.
Thank you. By actually accepting this recommendation, all we're doing is in fact carrying forward what we have already resolved in previous council meetings in relation to fees for sporting organisations.
Any further comment or debate? No, I'll speak from the chair. Look, I'm quite happy for as many organisations as possible to put submissions into the budget that's coming up, and that will be determined at the next meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. And I am quite supportive of these sporting organisations actually winning their argument and getting cheaper fees for their ovals, for their pools, etc. But let's do it through the budget. I agree with what Councillor Jones has said. Let's do it through the budget, and I certainly will be supporting a significant reduction for sporting organisation fees and charges to all our sporting complexes, such as pools, such as ovals and the like, if and when they are to put a submission into this budget process. So any further comment on that? No, I put that. All those in favour? Aye, no, carried. Someone can invite Councillor Grant back into the room, please. We now have CCL 21/110, the Crown Land Review Operational Land Report following public exhibition. Can I have a move of that one, please? Move Councillor Parker, second Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate on that? No, I put that. All those in favour? Oh, no, carried. Now, councillors, we move to comments and matters of urgency. We'll start off with Councillor Parker.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, glory, glory to South Sydney. There wasn't much of that yesterday. However, there was glory, glory, glory to our staff. I need to congratulate them on their organisation of this particular event in all aspects. The traffic movement in terms of pedestrian and vehicular, I think it all runs smoothly. I'll cut it short because I think everybody else may want something to comment on as well. But I said to my son-in-law, who accompanied me to the game, I said I should have brought my boots along. The ground looked so good, I could have a game with them as well. But anyway, let's hope we look for future ones in the future. Yesterday's event was a great success. Thank you.
Councillor Etheridge.
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you. I'd like to echo the comments of Councillor Parker. The coach of South Sydney was on the TV this morning, not a very happy man, but he commended our facility, said it was amazing, and he actually apologised to the Dubbo people for the poor performance of the team. But as far as he was concerned, we did it right. And thank you to the staff who've done it.
Councillor Lawrence.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I certainly agree that it's a case of glory to the staff. I attended yesterday, and as a very keen South Sydney supporter, was certainly very happy with the event, but not that happy with the result. It should also be said, glory to Councillor Parker, because as I recall it, it was Councillor Parker who had the vision and the initiative, I can't remember when it was, but to bring to Council the proposal to bring an NRL match to Dubbo. So certainly just want to acknowledge that. That's perhaps not remembered that much in the community, but it was indeed Councillor Parker who brought the idea to Council, and that led to it occurring. Certainly hasn't been sort of acknowledged in subsequent events or media, but that is the truth of it. So Councillor Parker, you certainly are to be commended, because it's all down to you that that game happened yesterday.
Do we have a comment? Councillor Grant? No? Councillor Jones? Councillor Diffie?
Sorry, that went quickly. Congratulations to all the staff on the football yesterday. But on a side note, I would like to also congratulate the Wellington Show Society and the Dubbo Show Society on their recent shows. I didn't get to the Wellington show, but by all accounts it was fantastic. I did get to the Dubbo show. It was a huge honour to MC the opening and be in the company of people like the Commissioner for Resilience, Mr Shane Fitzsimmons, and other dignitaries on the day, recognising the efforts of our frontline workers and volunteer workers who have worked so hard to keep us supported and safe during drought, fire, flood and bushfires. So I already said fire, sorry. COVID was what I meant to say. Congratulations to all of the volunteers involved in both shows. Enormous effort, and I know that Dubbo itself was a massive success, so thank you to them.
Thank you, Councillor Diffie. Councillor Gumley? Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was very tempted to put a point of order on Councillor Etheridge when she spoke. She insinuated that Wayne Bennett is sometimes happy. That is not the case. I've never seen him happy. I'd like to reiterate the thanks to Councillor Parker. He did bring this to us very early on in this term, and also to Dougal Saunders, who is the head of the NRL country or regional task force, tasked with getting these sorts of games to regional areas. And I think it was the efforts of the staff and the enthusiasm from the local community that saw just shy of 11,000 people at the ground. The only reason I think it was less than 11,000 is because of the COVID restrictions. The fact that there was online booking meant that the staff and all the volunteers who helped out processed people through just as quickly as they would in a normal event. I'd like to thank the Livability Director, Sky Price. I was sitting in front of her. She had a slightly better view than me, but she assured me that she had checked with the manager, Craig Arms, and I think they doubled and triple checked, and I think Mr Arms had woken up a few times at night worried whether or not the sprinklers were going to come on. And I think right down to the sprinklers not coming on, which would have been actually quite sensational considering the result. I think it was absolutely fantastic. The smiles on the kids' faces, the way the footballers interacted with the kids. I think that is going to be a compelling case. The vision of the ground, it looked amazing from all directions, and I think it has made it far easier for our local MP to go to the state government and say, look, this just has to be not something that's decided on in an annual or biannual or triennial basis or a term of parliament basis. It is something that needs to just be set in stone, so it happens all the time, and I think the efforts of everyone concerned has certainly pushed it along that path. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Moore. Okay, councillors, we now move on to Committee of the Whole and that is where we have confidential meetings of council, but I certainly remind the audience and the media that after our confidential session that we do open the doors again. So I'll ask someone to move us into confidential council. That's Committee of the Whole. That's Councillor Grant, seconded Councillor Lawrence. Any discussion or debate on that matter? No, I put that. All those in favour? All right, no, carried. I'd like to thank members of the media and particularly the public who have come along to. Can I have the minutes of the Committee of the Whole please be read to the council?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In regards to CW21A Kinetic Art finalists, number 1, that the report of the Director Culture and Economy dated 18th of May 2021 be noted. Number 2, that the winning artist and design be announced digitally through Council's Facebook page on Wednesday 26th of May 2021 at 11 a.m, and all details remain confidential until this time. In relation to CCL 21/97, recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer, number 1, that this matter be dealt with in the Committee of the Whole. Number 2, the Council appoints LG New South Wales Management Solutions to undertake the recruitment of a new General Manager to be commenced and concluded prior to the expiration of the 12-month term referred to below. 3, that the Interim General Manager, CEO Dean Frost, be given 2 weeks' notice of return to his substantive director position, and that number 4, that Council appoints Mr Murray Wood as Council's Interim General Manager for a period of 12 months. Thanks.
If anyone wishes to move the entire paper, or will we do a save and accept? Okay, I'll do each motion at a time. Can I have... All right, someone move the entire. All right, seconded. Any discussion or debate of the entire paper? Councillor Moore.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I strongly object to the recruitment process of a new CEO. This council passed a mirror minute some time ago appointing Mr Frost into that position. There was a selection process with other directors that thought that they would do a good job in this position. Mr Frost was the person who was awarded that temporary position until after the next election. So I think we should honour that, as we have...
I think Councillor Moore might be going to matters that were the subject of discussions in confidential session. I'm not sure that this is appropriate. We've just
I haven't heard it being...
Excuse me, I'm raising a point of order, Councillor Moore.
I
don't
believe it to be confidential at this stage. So thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. It could be hardly confidential when it was just read of exactly what this council's actions are. So I don't know where Councillor Lawrence is coming from. Mr Mayor, this community over the years have been upset that previous councils have awarded a general manager prior to a council election when a new council was never given the opportunity to appoint the person that they wanted to run the establishment. I still strongly believe that we should do that. I'm not in favour of this at all, and I still think that Mr Frost is doing an excellent job, and he should continue to do so.
Further comment? Councillor Lawrence.
I'm not going to make a substantive contribution because I think when an employment matter is dealt with in Committee of the Whole, it is completely inappropriate for councillors then to embark upon personal reflections on the capacity of individual staff members. I think it is completely inappropriate. It should not have happened. It has happened.
Point of order.
And that is extremely
Point of order.
regrettable.
The motion mentions Mr Frost, and that's all I've mentioned is Mr Frost.
I uphold the point of order. All right. I'd like to have a say on this, councillors. I think this is pretty poor effort. We did go through a recruitment period. In fact, the Deputy Mayor and I sat on the recruitment panel, interviewed several candidates. Now to change midway through just before a council election to appoint someone just before a council election, I don't think is very fair on the incoming council, full stop. This was brought on by a last-minute amendment. I understand that there was a group of councillors who met who discussed this earlier, and some councillors were in full agreement. There was a group of councillors who met and discussed this earlier, and others were excluded. So, that being the case, I'm certainly totally and utterly opposed to this, and I will be opposed to it for a long period. And I will give notice now. To stop this process, I will be lodging a rescission motion which will stop this process until the next meeting of council. So that is my notice I give tonight. So any further comment or discussion? No? I put that. All those in favour? I put the report of the Committee of the Whole. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councillor Etheridge? 6. All those opposed? Declare it carried. 6 votes to 4. And again, I would like to advise Council tonight that there will be a rescission motion lodged
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Meeting is not an opportunity to engage in gratuitous commentary and abuse your power. So
I declare your point of order invalid. Thank you. Okay, councillors, that does end this meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. Very dramatic meeting of Dubbo Regional Council, one that I've never seen before. Thank you.